Hey, Boo. Andrew.
I'm in. How you doing?
Okay, can you hear me all right?
Can hear you perfectly, mate.
Hey everybody,
Yeah.
my name's Grant Key.
Excellent.
I'm the lead protocol engineer
Trying
for
it without
Telcoin
the
Network.
headphones because
I'll show you our digital cash demo.
Dysfunctional.
We've deployed several digital cash options
How
on
are ya?
testnet. This
I'm
is a
good,
Dairy
man. You?
testnet.
We
have
not long home from
selected
work,
our
having dinner
Mexican
and-
Peso. And
Ready
you
to
can
go.
see from a
Yeah.
list of options, we've got a wallet with several
You want me
balances.
to
But today we're going to swap for
preamble and
Canadian
host?
dollars.
If you don't mind, yeah,
Set an
sure.
amount.
Like,
Sure,
I can do
2,000.
recap agenda.
We can
all
see
that
the
kind of
price
stuff. I know
impact,
Matt said he was gonna
the
do it,
minimum
so
amount
no
received.
big deal.
We set our parameters for the swap, and now we're ready to sign.
No problem.
I assume, Derek, we're
For the
not
demo
really
on
live
desktop,
yet,
we're
are
using
we?
MetaMask. It's an open source EVM wallet.
A
Telcoin
minute to
Network
go, I
is
think.
fully compatible with all the EVM
Not yet.
products on the market. And once
Give it a
we've
few minutes
signed our
for
transaction,
the rest
it's
of the
now
boys.
with the network. The nodes are reaching consensus, they're validating it. They're exchanging that information to make sure it's a legitimate
giving me too much
transaction.
there, bro.
And once that's reached on testnet's about 5 seconds, we should be able to see the information
It
and the
feels
block
weird,
explorer.
having like a whiskey or something.
So here we can see our status was
What
successful.
time you got there?
The block that the
It
transaction
is
was
3
included in,
Yeah, that's all right. It's time for
100,593.
whiskey.
And we signed our transaction just 22 seconds ago. The power of Telcoin Network with the instant finality, every time a block is produced, the settlement is cleared, that transaction is permanent. And for very low transaction fees and very fast block times. Here you can have a look at our block explorer where we see blocks being produced in real time. This has a lot of information for us, including the token price, the latest block number, and the most recent transactions on the network. And there you have it. It's as easy as that.
All right.
Users can swap stable tokens now on our
It's a
Telcoin
clock.
wallet found on iOS and Android.
Yeah, maybe let's just wait for a couple more of the guys to join. I assume Matt won't be coming, but I assume Ty and Will and who else?
Mike.
I would assume. If not, it'll just be me and you, buddy.
We can handle it.
You know me, I can talk.
I know you can talk. That's a given. In a good way.
I took it that way, yeah. All right. Well, seeing that we're live, maybe Tim, why don't you just go ahead with the forward, get things going while I see Will and Ty are joining up, so we can give them a minute to come on while we get started.
Cool. All right, everybody, welcome. Welcome.
Hello, guys.
Welcome to our reoccurring TELx Council meeting. These reoccurring meetings provide several critical functions to our governance, provide transparency to our community, create structure for our forum, provide authors the ability to present their proposals to the council and community, allows the council and community to review, debate and refine these proposals so they can get to a place where we have consensus and mutual understanding, provide a medium for regular TELx ecosystem updates, ensure consistent communication between council members and the community, allows the community to directly engage in Q&A with the council members. The TELx Council is a local governance organisation with authority over and duties towards TELx operational rules, system health and social wellbeing. Overview. Accepts, develops and votes on TELx IPs to change or introduce new elements to TELx, to alter TELx harvesting rules and its responsibility for generally representing the interests of and informing the constituency in matters pertaining to TELx. Duties. The TELx Council is required to 1. Plan, finance and coordinate implementation of improvements to the TELx system. 2. Regulate the flow of TEL issuance throughout TELx to be harvested by liquidity miners. 3. Introduces, alters and enforces TELx operational rules, including harvesting, information and communication, maintenance and construction. Excuse me. 4. Informs miners of their activities, of the activities and outcomes related to TELx and results from any snapshot votes. These snapshot votes are a requirement for all council members, and in order for a proposal to move forward, there needs to be a 5 of 6 majority vote, and all 6 members voting within 5 days from the start, it being posted to snapshot. And That's the recap. So, sorry, that's the preamble. So over to the recap, Angel.
Yes. Give me a sec. I'm just putting the agenda in for Boo. Okay, there we go. Yeah, recap wise, give me a sec here and get my notes. So we obviously had Parker on, so pretty good, back-to-back meetings, having Paul on the previous call, and then Parker joined us as well last week. We did dive into some of the educational stuff, which was, part of a topic that we've been talking about recently, to try to get updates going to the website and everything. Obviously, we know that the About section needs to be a little bit updated with information, and I think a better UX UI as well. So part of that was putting a little bit more of a scope together. As obviously the council members are aware, I put together a little bit of a brief kind of snapshot scope to kind of get us kicked off with Storm, to understand kind of the options and what we can kind of get going there. So we'll keep the ball rolling on that. I wouldn't say there's probably much to update on that. But once we get together with Storm and start brainstorming what we need to do and all that kind of stuff, then we'll get the community a little bit more involved and make sure we have everything that we need from that perspective. While Parker was on, we also talked about kind of just ecosystem development approach as well, just talking about different protocols and how we can incorporate, Uniswap and Balancer and all of these different dexes and potential partners into, the entirety of the ecosystem. So obviously that's going to continue to evolve as we continue to push forward. We talked about updates on the audit for Uniswap. So obviously we'll go into more details about that today. We also touched on just payments for the audits with Cantina. And hoping to get some details from Grant and Leo about payment status, just so we can reflect that into the budget, so we have a better understanding of where that is going to continue to go. We talked about the Mexican pool, the remittance side of things as well, connecting to that corridor. So again, that'll be kind of updated as we talk about the Uniswap stuff. We also introduced a kind of a new kind of pool design with the Balancer RE clan pools, which Will brought to our attention. We discussed a little bit about kind of pros and cons, the differences between that and Uniswap, which I'm sure we can dive into a little bit more today. And then we just talked about kind of development speed and market evolution as well, knowing that these audits have taken probably a little bit longer than anticipated. But the good thing is that once these are done, making and creating and incentivizing new pools on that protocol will be a lot faster and smoother, right? So that's a good thing. Then we had a follow-up meeting with Amir. I know Tim and Ty, you guys were able to join me on that call last Friday. Again, it was more just to understand kind of what's going on with the hooks, the request from Uku for a third audit, and then just general discussions about, okay, timing to launch these pools, what's the structure going to be, all that kind of stuff, which again, we'll jump into. So that is a little bit of the recap. And if we want to go into agenda today, again, similar to what we've been talking about for the last couple of meetings, that the goal here today is to finalize and get some clarity on what's going on with the launch of these pools, and we can go into those specifics. We'll talk about the Balancer clan pools again, just to see kind of where everybody's sitting on that. And I've got some ideas on what we could do in the short term. Might have to talk to Amir about some stuff, but we can get into that. And then budget and treasury updates as well. And then just the open Q&A as usual with the community. So do we know if Amir is on? It doesn't look like it. He did mention in his emails that he would be able to. Oh, there he is. Amir, how you doing, buddy?
Good. I'm sorry. My internet cut out right before this meeting, so I'm at a coffee shop right now. But good. How are you guys doing?
All good. All good. Yeah, no, good to have you on. I think to kick off, maybe let's just kind of recap maybe the meeting that we had on Friday with kind of the current status of what's going on with the Uniswap hook and what options are kind of before us so that we can figure out kind of and finalize the details on what we're going to do moving forward, potentially, getting those going as early as I think Friday we talked about. So
yeah. So So just so everybody knows, some of the issues, the second audit has taken quite a bit of time, much longer than anticipated. Part of that's on me. It was also extra difficult time zone wise with our auditors. They were very skilled, did a great job. However, pretty much every response took a 24-hour, 12 hours for them, 12 hours back to go back and forth. So it just kind of prolonged the process. And that's something I should have anticipated. Typically, we just pick auditors based off of their portfolio, not so much like geographic hindrances. So it's just never been a problem so far. But anyways, like Andrew was saying, the plan is to go live on Friday. Now, Utu didn't want to go live with our current set of contracts. We wanted to move forward with a third audit. Now, when this project first started, there was a few business needs. The predominant one was the ability to vote. And another one, which was much smaller but important, was a claim-based reward system versus an airdrop system. And this is for tax purposes and stuff like that. Now, all the calculations for the rewards are going to be calculated off chain. That's today, that's tomorrow, that's in the future. That was the plan from the get-go. The on-chain voting system and stuff like that, the position tracking and stuff, that's what necessitated the on-chain infrastructure. So what we're talking about, just because we don't want to keep pushing this further back and further back. Well, the discussion Wednesday or Friday was essentially we move forward with the off-chain side of things. I'll need to rework the script a little bit because written into the contracts that we were going to deploy, there's some easier metrics, just to make the script a little bit more efficient that we put in there. But it's all doable off-chain. So the game plan is essentially go forward with the incentives so that people can start collecting rewards, so people start adding liquidity to these pools. It'll allow us to move forwards with the audit. We're not as under such a time crunch. And realistically, unless there's a vote that comes up sooner, all this will be done before the next election, which is really what the on-chain infrastructure is for. So the game plan is like Andrew said, kind of move forward on Friday. Friday would be when the rewards started to accumulate. Now, all this is off chain. So currently there's not a system in place to see what the rewards are. That said, unlike our current system, rewards are actually determined at the very end of a period. So even tracking intermediately, your rewards can technically go up and down if a large position were to come in later, add a large amount of liquidity, and the volume were to go up, things like that. So there's really not a way to determine ahead of time and to the end of the period exactly how much you will receive. That's, once again, not based off of this audit stuff. That's just the new structure that we've gone with. So that's kind of the game plan moving forwards. I don't know when we're going to do Q&A, but I'm happy to answer any questions about that. But that's kind of the idea. Did I miss anything, Andrew?
I think you nailed it pretty well. Good job, Amir. Yeah, essentially, I guess the decision comes down to us as the council if we want to push the button for Friday. Actually, the one thing I think that we need to mention too is that the pools initially that we would be incentivizing if we push forward with Friday, which it looks like it's going to be, would be existing pools that are already created and on Uniswap. So part of the adjustment once these hooks are ready to go is that we would need to create new pools to add that hook. That hook needs to be added at the creation of these new pools. So essentially what we would be doing is incentivizing the existing V4 pools on Uniswap until the hook is completely audited, ready to go. We're happy and satisfied with the integration at the website and all that kind of stuff as well. And then we would need to create those new pools and get everything going. We would have to get any of those liquidity providers to then transition and move their liquidity from the old to the new pools. Again, we could put gas, should be pretty straightforward. But that's another key thing that we need to factor in as well. But I think the goal is to try to get these pools going sooner rather than later, which is why we're trying to get it done for this week. In the hopes that, again, we start getting a little bit more liquidity and everything going on all of these different networks. I think part of it too, with the specifically like the base pool and everything that base is doing with the new app and integrations and all that kind of stuff, it'd be good to have a little bit higher level of liquidity on that pool to get a little bit more visibility, specifically on that chain with everything that they have kind of going on. And the sooner we can get that going, I think the better it is for us in the long term as well too. So yeah, I don't know if anybody has any specific questions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
go ahead,
got a
Ty.
couple.
Yeah, go.
Can we circle back a little bit to the request for the third audit? The notes from the meeting last Friday said Amir would provide a little bit more detail if he followed up with two on the need for that third audit. I know it's a small issue, but it probably affects everybody. That's why it was deemed critical. And because of the protocols that exist with holdings, then anything that's marked as critical has to go through an audit process after it's been resolved. So can Amir, first of all, enlighten us a little bit more on if there's been any further development on that third audit?
Yes, there has. So just to recap and give a little bit more detail to what Ty was saying, a lot of the security protocols, Utku is the head of security for Telcoin Holdings. He's also on one of the councils. So in a lot of ways, we kind of follow his protocols that he's put in place for Telcoin Holdings as best practices for Telcoin Association. Now, with his policy, the Telcoin's policy, which he created, is essentially whenever there's a critical finding, you need to get a subsequent audit after the issue has been fixed. So the issue was actually a relatively small, like a one-line change, but because of the protocol, we need to move forward with a whole nother one. Now, I spoke to the previous audit has now been concluded as of yesterday. So I haven't actually told the council yet, but we received late yesterday. We received the audit report, everything like that. The third audit, right now, I am coordinating with Chris, who's been my point of contact on Spearbit. I've been coordinating with Chris with regards to starting that new audit. I told her that I would like to start early next week. Today, she's going to be sending me over a few candidates for auditors. Like I said, they send over a few potential auditors. And from that, we select who we would like to we look at the portfolios and select who we'd actually like to audit the content. She provided me a quote also. The quote is 18,000, which is actually 6,000 less than the previous audit. Telcoin Association has negotiated a new structure with Spearbit. So we kind of have a retainer with them, and the payment process is a little bit different, which gives us about 20-25% discount. So it's a little bit less. Obviously, this is not a insignificant amount of money, but it is fortunately less than either of the last two audits. Like I said, we don't have a start date yet, but depending on the availability and the auditors we pick, I should hopefully know that by end of day today or tomorrow, if everything goes smoothly.
On that note, Amir, too, I think we just need to make sure that we are formally approving like that third audit. I just don't want to make sure we're not moving forward before we, as a council, agree to it. Like you said, it is 18 grand that would be coming out of our budget.
Yes.
Right. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that before we kind of push forward.
Absolutely.
Because I think we have to put like a proposal snapshot. It's got to do the full thing again if we're going through it the proper way.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that we're following that proper protocol procedure internally with the association.
Yes, and I apologize. I think in the past we kind of did a little more ad hoc, and that was on me.
No, again, it's okay. If it needs to get done, and like it needs to get done.
But I just received the quote roughly an hour ago or so. So it's brand new, and I know we had talked about discussing today, so I hadn't realized if that was going to be on this or whatever. But yes, I can provide you all of that documentation. They're gonna provide me, along with the auditors, the scope of contract. We can either wait for that or not. The quote is good. It's just a documentation thing. So we can discuss after the call specifics. But I agree, though, it would be best if we could get that next vote underway as soon as possible, and then I can ask her to push the start day, so that it aligns with the resolution of that vote, if that's what works out best for everyone.
Yeah, I think next steps would be just to flip the email to the council with all the details, and then we can discuss internally again what the best game plan is. But again, we're going to rely heavily on your and Utku's recommendations, and if you guys feel that we need to push forward with this, then that's likely going to be the case. Again, for me, it's just more about doing things in the proper order.
For sure,
No,
absolutely.
I agree with everything that's said there, Emir. Thanks. Are we absolutely sure we need a full third audit for a correction to a one-line change? That's my only, being Scottish, that's my only concern, that it's a lot of money for a one-line check. And I know somebody has to go through the whole thing, but
I understand.
What's been done before? Third time round, it's...
So just a little caveat to that. The way audits, and this is a two-part answer. The way audits work is you are not allowed to just pick a specific part of code. If they audit it, they want both an entire contract, and the second portion is that they want, if it is designed to work in conjunction with other contracts, you need to provide that as well. If it's not your own code and you want to consider it as like a trusted third party, that's fine, but they still expect you to add the code, and it's considered out of scope. So if you have like bug bounties and stuff like that, it's important to have it all audited together. The other part is the critical finding was a one-line change. There is a handful of smaller issues that the first audit did not catch that were present at the end of the first audit and existed in the second audit. The critical finding was a very, very small, but it wasn't the only finding that they had. There were other corrections as well. If it was just a one-line change, the audit would have been done very quickly. But there's a handful of small things and a decent-sized refactor. Well, it's not a large refactor, but a decent-sized refactor that we did on the contract as well. So that's obviously something that's up for discussion, but it was more than just the one-line change that was the difference between the first and second audit.
Oh, okay, so that then opens up another question. If there are other findings that didn't get picked up in the first audit that have been picked up in the second audit that need to be remedied, are we sure we want to be pushing out these changes before we get a complete clean bill of health?
Well, remember, we aren't going live with any of these contracts. Currently, what we'd be going live with on Friday would be the off-chain scripts.
Okay.
So that was actually one of the things that Utku specified. He said, if we want to move forward, I'm not comfortable with these other contracts that are kind of in a hybrid state. So that's the game plan. Is pretty much, like I said, a lot of the incentives calculations are done off-chain, not specifically with the contract, which is why, like Andrew said, people would have to recreate their liquidity positions at a later date, because that's when we actually would be introducing some of those contracts.
Okay, I didn't appreciate that distinction. Thanks for that. So on-chain / smart contracts, that's what is being affected by the audit, but we're not implementing that side. We're just going through off-chain scripts to handle the rewards, and that's not affected by any of these findings.
Yeah, the calculations are going to be off-chain, just similar to what we were planning on doing anyway, based off fees, right, on a weekly basis.
So we're not exposing ourselves to any unnecessary risk.
No. The hook audit is specifically to connect to the TELx website for, again, staking, so that it's not everybody, because essentially once we go live on Friday, anybody and everybody in that pool, whether they're aware of TELx or not, is going to be airdrop some TEL. What the point of the hook is to get them to stake on TELx, so that we know specifically that they're providing liquidity because of Telcoin and TELx, and we're only incentivizing those. But that's going to be as part of the hook later on. And like Amir said off the top too, the other aspect of it too is just the connection from snapshot to governance voting, with again your liquidity down the road when it's needed, which again, liquidity miners aren't needed typically to vote unless it's kind of like these elections, which aren't coming up until October. So I think we do have some time, but
Yeah, no. Okay, so that was the first part of my question. Second part is this problem that I've experienced, and I think Mike alluded to as well, with base pool. That base pool that we intended to go live with, the V4 on the ETH pool. Just to bring you up to date, I've opened a ticket with Uniswap, and I'm talking to a guy called Josh on that. But his response is just the first standard response. Have you cleaned the cache? Have you tried a different browser? Have you tried a different wallet? So I've confirmed all that. I personally think there still is a problem, but Amir, you said you had been able to provide liquidity, although I notice when I scan the transactions on that pool, there haven't been any new transactions added for 2 months or more.
That shouldn't be the case. I created a position last week. So maybe you and I can discuss how that's being done. I was able to add and remove a position. So maybe I can find that transaction hash for you to show you or whatever. But my plan was later today to dig into it also. But I have created a position there relatively recently.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. So, okay, we can maybe discuss that offline after this meeting then.
Yeah, as long as things line up for Friday that we can get people to provide liquidity, then I think we can work through that. If Amir's saying that he can do it, I know Ty, you had some challenges. I'll play around with it maybe over the next day or two before we're ready to go for Friday.
No, it's good to get some other insight on it because I can add liquidity to other pools. That's what's confusing me. So it's not a general problem I'm having adding liquidity to Uniswap pools. It's specifically that V4 pool that is the one that we're planning to incentivize. So maybe confirm the contract address as well for that. But
yep, for sure.
It's the one that Uniswap prompts me with.
Okay, yeah, no, it makes sense. We'll make sure that we go through that properly.
Ty, just to be specific, you're talking about the base pool.
Yes.
The TELx V4 base pool on Uniswap.
Correct.
Yeah, it comes up ETH/TEL as opposed to TEL/ETH, which is the V3 pool.
Yeah, it's definitely base chain on Uniswap.
Yeah.
Okay. Another note too, just while I'm thinking about it and some other conversations too, for the Mexican and USDC pool, if you're looking at providing liquidity to that, you can get and mint MXN on the TEL app. If not, you'll have to swap through the liquidity pool in order to provide liquidity. So either you're accessing MXN through the TEL app through a swap function, or you're doing it through the Uniswap pool that is already up and running. I think Leo and I were kind of talking this morning about it as well, and I think there's roughly 40,000 of each USDC and Mexican in that liquidity pool already. So
one thing I'd like to add to that briefly is that stablecoins, as well as crypto in general, obviously, is area and region restricted. Depending on where you've KYC'd, as in depending on what your ID said, you may or may not be eligible to trade in stablecoins. That's up to your local government, your federal government, whatever it might be. So if you go to the app and you can't find it, that's likely the reason why. And that's what Andrew meant by if you're able to. Is that if ideally anybody's able to, but if it doesn't show up, then that's probably the reason why you're unable to participate. And like he said, you'd have to swap into it through DeFi in order to get that other currency.
Yeah, so like specifically in Canada for me, like I don't have that access to swap on the app, or I don't have access to the stable coins at this point. So for me, if I'm wanting to provide liquidity, I've got to go and swap some USDC for EMXN within that pool, and then provide liquidity within the pool afterwards. And another note too, just on the fee structure, What we've seen so far in Balancer V2 is a 0.2% fee structure. And I think what we're going to do moving forward is any digital cash, aka stablecoin pool, is going to be at a 0.05% fee structure. And when we looking at asset to asset, so like obviously a TEL ETH pool, it's going to be at 0.3. So that's kind of going to be the differentiation between those pools as well from a fee structure. Okay.
Okay, just to confirm, you said Balancer is 0.2% for a...
The existing pools that we have right now, the wrapped ETH, the wrapped Bitcoin, and the USDC pool, all paired with TEL, are all at 0.2.
Sorry,
So
not any stable pools in Balancer, right?
We don't have any. Well, again,
No,
we
I know.
did in the
Yeah.
past with
No, I understand.
with DFX and everything like that. But of the 3 existing pools that we're currently incentivizing, all of those fee structures are 0.2.
Yeah, that of course V2's rewards and fees aren't based on your fee structures so much, because Balance V2 completely differently than what the V4 does on concentrated liquidity.
Yeah, and we'll get into that too, which is something I was going to bring up with the existing Balancer pools and what we've been talking about last one with the clan pools. But we'll talk about that once we finish this topic.
Okay.
Again, just to be clear, when we talk about the EMXN pool on Uniswap, it's the USDC/EMXN V4 on Polygon Uniswap.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and when the announcement goes officially on Friday, we'll link all of the pools and all that kind of stuff, just to make sure that everybody is following the right pool and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey guys, if I may add something, I feel that for the EMXN pool, we would like to have the most liquidity right now, right away, give a good liquidity in this pool. So how about we raise the fee structure to a little bit more than 0.05 and to attract liquidity to make the pool as big as possible? What do you think?
Yeah, so we kind of talked about that too with Amir on Friday. It looks like they have like structured set kind of fees based on the pool. And like, again, this is a recommendation from that perspective, just because typically I think in stablecoin pools, you're going to see a higher level of volume, right? So that's why typically the fee structure is a little bit lower. So I think maybe for now, let's see how things go and then take it from there. But if down the road, if we decide that we want to adjust the fee structure, the challenge there would be that we need to create an entirely new pool. So maybe we think about that as the hook is ready. So maybe we kind of have this transitionary, phase 1 with the existing pools, see how things go. And then if we want to make any changes to that, we need to do that at the creation of the pool.
Yeah. Sounds good.
As you said, how things go, but the alternative to amending the fee structure is to amend the rewards and reallocate a bit more
Not necessarily, because the fees are still going to be calculated in the same fashion. It's going to be, whatever the total fees are for that period, whatever percentage that you have, you're going to get allocated, out of that 2.4 million specifically for that pool, right?
I think what Tim is saying is that, if the reward the first 2-3 weeks was 1 million, we could up that to 2 million to do like an early adoption incentivization, and then reduce it back to whatever we wanted later, just to push more people into it day one. I believe that's what he was saying.
Okay.
Yeah. What we might find, I think we've said this before, you might find that one of the other pools is getting enough liquidity because people are getting enough of the fees out of it. And the EMXN one, because it's got low fees, might need some more of the allocation.
Incentives to balance the total fees. Yeah, no, I see what you mean. Again, that would have to go through a proper protocol, like a TELx IP, right, to do that. So if we want to incentivize that pool when the hooks are ready and we create these new ones for the first, say, 4 weeks, then let's put a proposal in to do that once everything is ready. And if we want to add, instead of the 2.4 per week, we want to do it at 3, whatever the number is. It's just, again, we got to go through the proper procedures. We can't just on a whim decide to do it and then put it through tomorrow, kind of thing, right?
I think we have to see how it goes and then adjust accordingly.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking this initial phase, while, you know, we're going to airdropping everything, we're going to get to an understanding. You know, it's probably almost a blessing in disguise that Uku wants that third audit, and we need to take a little bit more time and due diligence so that we can kind of do this in phases. We can check this phase 1, see how everything goes, get feedback from the community on, you know, how easy or hard it is to provide liquidity, understanding the ranges, understanding concentrated liquidity, all that kind of stuff. We can build off that, learn from it, and then get ready to go for phase 2 when we have the hook, everything is ready to go. And to Will's point too, if we notice that, you know, the fees that are coming out of the stablecoin pool aren't, you know, high enough and we want to adjust that fee structure, then we need to do that before we launch the new pools with the hooks attached. Because anytime you make an adjustment after things go live, you need to create a new pool, and creating a new pool is going to be a pain in the ass for people that are providing liquidity, because then they got to take it out, switch it, put it back in, right? And you're not going to likely get 100% of that turnover, right? So then we're potentially losing liquidity at that point as well, the more changes and adjustments that we make that, down the road. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Amir had his hand up. I'm sorry. Ari, I'm not sure if Ari had a chance to speak.
I didn't know Ari was in here.
Maybe it was, I take it back. It was Amir.
I only see.
My apologies. It was Amir. Sorry. We're good.
All good. No comments from the other socials?
Yeah, we've got one, and this is not around the same stuff, but somebody asked with Polygon's parallel EVM and ZK EVM, are there plans to enhance throughput and interpolarity, SUI and Solana's performance benefiting the ecosystem?
Well, I don't know what half the stuff you said there, so I'm going to defer to Amir, as this might be a little bit more of his thought process, maybe his more scope, but
so short answer is no. We are not. We're not currently talking about that directly, I would say. Obviously, one of the largest projects the team was working on right now is the Telcoin network. With that, we are integrating with Axelar, which is a multi-chain protocol, which will allow us to take advantage of some of that, but indirectly. You know, it's just, you know, with the team, besides the team we have, you know, Steve, Marcus, Grant being the only real dedicated blockchain entities, we have this to pick and choose certain networks is just not in the bandwidth. Instead, we're kind of focusing our energy on Telcoin, you know, taking advantage of decentralized multi-chain platforms like Axelar, and you know, as we grow, we can incentivize other platforms and stuff. But something else you have to remember is that Telcoin Holdings has its agenda, right? It has its plans and stuff. Obviously, Telcoin Association has its own priorities, but a lot of these things, unless Telcoin Association is going to take it upon itself, you know, there's not always an incentive for Telcoin Holdings to put resources to some of these other chains, right? Currently, it's just on Polygon. Base is not something that people can access through the app. So that's why, you know, Telcoin Holdings has never made that towards that. So you know, if the association would like to explore a lot of these other opportunities, frankly, you know, the team would have to grow substantially because it would be completely on Telcoin Associations to make that. So currently, no, it's not being explored. You know, that's obviously something you as voters can participate on and something you can voice, but as of now, that's not on the agenda.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, any other questions, comments on V4 before we move to the next topic?
That was it.
Thank you. Okay, just for clarification, we know this is being recorded, but I'm in favor for Friday. Ty, you good?
Yes, I'd just like to mention the coordination plan, because you produced a really comprehensive document on the steps and what should be covered in education and help guides and not cheat sheets, but quick guides.
Yep.
How are we placed?
Yeah,
to
so
relate
that's
information?
a like a higher level education kind of stuff. Like it's not specific to V4. Like that was like just overarching. How do we update the about section on TELx network website? So like we don't have to have all that kind of stuff ready for Friday. Obviously, that's more of a bigger picture. How do we provide a little bit more education to the different level of potential DeFi users, whether through the app or through the websites or anything like that. So specific to like V4, I'm talking to Storm right now about kind of what we need to do marketing wise to kind of get things going. So there'll likely be a post maybe today to kind of create some buzz for Friday. And then I'm going to work on at least some initial stuff probably tomorrow, just in terms of specifics with Uniswap and V4. Just so that we can kind of link those existing kind of probably either guides or videos from Uniswap when we post about it on Friday. And then obviously, as part of being elected council members, we're obviously here for the community if they have questions. I feel like we're all pretty comfortable in using Uniswap now, specifically V4. That any questions that do come up, we should be able to help guide people and walk them through that initial liquidity provision.
Yeah, no. So in terms of my thumbs up on the Mexican pool, yeah. On the Polygon pool, yeah. I'd still like to get some clarity on the issue with the base pool, but generally speaking, if Amir can hang on after this call, then I can go through in detail with him and try and get that troubleshooted.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So
I
generally,
have a call in 20 minutes, but I can connect with you after that.
okay. How long's that call, Amir?
Ideally 30 minutes, maximum of about an hour.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. I've got an appointment at 10:15 my time here, but yeah. Okay, we'll talk
Either today or tomorrow, but let's
Yeah.
try to connect and just make sure we feel comfortable with base and kind of take it from there. Okay, Will, I assume you're okay based on the communication we've kind of had already, but
Yeah, I'm good for launching on Friday. I think we have to get the things going. So yeah, let's go.
sounds good. And Tim, not Mahota, Monahan, we saw your thumbs up, so all good. Okay, and in talking to Matt and Mike, I think they're both on board as well too. So it sounds like we've got consensus to push live to go for Friday. So obviously that announcement will be coming officially from the Tau account, likely shortly after this call. And we can get the buzz going. So if anybody is listening live and does have specific questions or needs help, again, my DMs are always open on any of the social platforms that we're on. And of course, you can reach out to anybody else on the TELx Council to get things going as well too. So, okay, good news, exciting news. Okay, we'll obviously update people a little bit more on the audits with Amir and Uku probably for the next call and kind of take things from there. But okay. Next on the agenda was really just discussing the kind of readjusting kind of clan pools with Balancer. Again, I think I spoke to it a little bit last week. Like it seems like a no-brainer to me as like an addition. Obviously, with launching, on Friday with Uniswap, maybe we kind of give it a little bit of time to kind of get that thing going before we introduce, another kind of new thing. But I think in the meantime, maybe Amir, not to put more stuff on your plate, but if possible, Do you mind doing a little due diligence on this and just understanding if we have the ability to stake on TELx with the existing RE clan pools? From what I've read, it looks like they have that functionality. And it does look like they are able to connect to Snapshot as well for voting and governance purposes. But I just want to get confirmation on that, whether or not those two things, because again, those are the two key things that we wanted to make sure were able to be done with the hook. So I just want to make sure that we can do those two things too with these pools if we do eventually go there.
I'm a little confused. Are you asking? So are you talking about? I'm so sorry. Do you mind restating it? Just the part directly regarding the pools that are on TELx, just that portion.
Yes. So, well, again, we don't have anything with these new balancer clan pools. It's more just understanding whether or not, if we decide to move to these clan pools, can we stake via TELx to provide
I got you.
incentives, and then can we connect to Snapshot for voting purposes down the road as well too? Because like the way I'm thinking of it, just off the top of my head now too, and again, we'd have to put this for a proposal, but maybe we can open the discussion up a little bit here now, was taking the existing balancer pools that we currently have and flipping them from V2 to these kind of V3 kind of clan pools, so that we have a little bit more of that similar concentrated liquidity, where again, that differentiation between Uniswap and balancer is you have a little bit more active management and the potential for higher rewards on Uniswap. And then you have the more kind of laid back, plug and play balancer, but we also get that benefit of that shift in that concentrated liquidity. So again, the goal for us at the end of the day is to provide deep, asset liquidity. And I think, these V3 balancer pools will provide that over and above the existing V2 balancer pools that we currently have.
Do you happen to know if they use like an ERC20 version, or if it's like a NFT version, or some other third party?
I'd have to look at it, but maybe
I can look into it. I just, if it's an ERC20, then I could say with 90% confidence that yes, out of the box, it's more or less the same exact. We can use the same set of synthetic contracts that we're using currently and stuff. So I'll have to look into it. If it's an ERC20, it should be really easy. We wouldn't need an audit. We wouldn't need anything like that. So
that's what I was thinking too. It might be a lot more seamless and again, less cost effective too. And we would get the benefits of that concentrated liquidity. And then on top of that too, again, with the readjusting of the pools, again, you can have a little bit more of a passive liquidity miner who doesn't want to stay on top of, his liquidity provisions, still providing, concentrated deep liquidity and less management, potentially less rewards. But again, it's a proof of work concept where you add more work, more management to the Uniswap side, it's potentially you'll get more rewards versus kind of the other side of the balancer. But
one other thing to mention is that if users did want to do Uniswap, they do have a full range option.
Yes.
Your rewards once again would be lower, but it is possible to Uniswap full range. You just won't be as competitive, but it won't take the active management.
Yeah, but again, on the counter side of that with balancer, like these V3 pools, again, you're kind of putting it in almost full range, and then as the price shifts, the dynamic of that correlation of that, those two assets shift as well.
And
so
guys,
it's kind of full range concentrated almost.
Just to answer the question on the ERC20 versus NFT on liquidity, I'm pretty sure I read that the positions were fungible. And so my guess is ERC20, and I think we're good to go there.
I'll verify that, but that would make it very easy. I don't want to speak for Halil, but we can more or less go live with that the next rotation if we so chose. So I need to verify that. I need to talk to Halil, but once again, wouldn't require an audit. Just redeploy contracts that we already have in existence and go from there.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe we would try to maybe do one as a test. And I was thinking maybe the USDC pool as a trial. Again, less volatile, kind of, you have a stable coin and another volatile asset. Hopefully that, helps show the range a little bit better and we can kind of play around with that. But again, just initial thoughts as we've talked about this now for the last couple of meetings, and just what can we do to try to continue to evolve and continue to increase the liquidity provisions that we can provide to the ecosystem, essentially, right? So
Maybe I didn't see it correctly, but I went to the Balancer website and looked through those reclam pools, and I found pools on Base and on Ethereum, but nothing on Polygon. So I'm not sure it's already available on Polygon or if it will be at some point. But my guess is it's
another
not
good
available
thing.
right now.
Yeah, another good thing to confirm, obviously, with everything right now with the app being on Polygon. Okay. Again, a little bit of a tangent there, but did anybody else do any little more digging on those balancer pools? Any comments about, potential future integrations, stuff like that?
Well,
No.
as I said, I tried to add some liquidity, but as it wasn't available on Polygon, and that's the only network I use for the moment, so I wasn't able to do so.
Okay. Ty, were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, just that I haven't had a chance. I've been embedded with this base problem on Uniswap. So no.
No problem. Okay, well then maybe let's take the next couple of weeks until the next meeting to dive in a little bit deeper. We'll see what Amir comes back with as well. And again, if we're figuring out what we're doing with these balancer V2 pools, like in the short term, if it's going to be easy, I think a quick switch to the V3 to add deeper liquidity would be a no-brainer in my opinion. But all right,
good. Yeah.
Okay. Next up, budget treasury updates. I think Amir kind of touched on that a little bit with the agreements that we're making with the auditors and stuff like that. So I haven't heard back from Grant or Leo on whether or not the payment for the first 2 audits has been completed. Amir, I don't know if you know about that at all yet either. Again, for us, it's more just understanding when payment has been made so that we can understand what amount of TEL was used to facilitate that payment, so that we can obviously reflect that into our budget for the rest of the year.
Yeah. So there's a small portion that still needs to be paid from the TELx Council. However, so the structure is a little bit different because we now have, like I said, we have that, what's the word for it? A retainer with Spearbit, as well as just like the subscription structure, whatever, that's help decrease the prices. We have, so the first 2 payments are more or less done. First audit is completely done. Second audit needs a small portion paid out to it. But other than that is done. And then obviously this third audit would need to be done. The way that we've been doing it has actually been a little bit different than it was probably structured, but to our advantage. What we've been doing is, since the Telcoin Association itself is the one that has this agreement with Spearbit, and instead of taking TEL and trading it into USDC or something, which obviously you lose a little bit on that, what we've been doing is paying the transactions have gone directly to Telcoin Association, and we're just covered under that umbrella retainer. So that's been positive on multiple fronts. Like I said, you don't pay for that transaction. You don't lose anything in those transactions. You're not selling large quantities of TEL, and because we're piggybacking off of them, we're getting the advantage of the cost savings just by working with them. So I'll give you guys the amount that's still due that we needed a transaction for. But outside of that, they're more or less taken care of.
Okay, so from like an accounting perspective, then, like, it's possible that we just need to transfer some TEL from our safe to like the TEL treasury.
Correct.
Okay. It'd be good to get and understand what those details are so that we can properly see it in the budget. But I can take that offline with potentially Leo or yourself, Amir, if you have those details. But
yeah,
okay.
I'll have all the details. I can write everything, and I'll get it to you along with the details for the upcoming audit.
Perfect. Okay. Anything else on that front? Probably not. Okay. Next is just open Q&A. So I don't know, Derek, if there's any other questions from the live stream. I'm not seeing anything in the chat here on the call, but
let me check one more time. Let me
Anybody
check
have any
one more
questions?
time. I don't see anything. No, there's nothing else right now. That was the only one that I had. So if anybody has
Okay.
questions, put them in the stream chat. And
I am just
otherwise, yeah.
looking at the pool. I know you had asked for a link. So the challenge a little bit too with Uniswap v4 is they don't have links to like the pool address. But what I can do is provide the link to the website
That's perfect. Yeah.
at Uniswap. So that is the pool, the EMXN. But again, once everything is officially ready to go for Friday, a detailed post on socials will go together with all of those kind of details so that people know exactly where to go. Okie dokie.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Anything else before we hop off?
Not from me.
Okay.
No,
Will, you good?
I'm
I'm
good.
clear. I'm going on vacation tomorrow for a week to the Sunshine Coast in Australia.
Nice.
I'm not sure what the internet connection will be like, to be honest, but I'll try and keep up. But I'll more or less be, away from my screens.
That's fair.
I've been
Everybody
banned.
needs that. Everybody
Been
needs
banned
that
by
now and
the
then.
missus. So my input will be limited over the next 7 or 8 days.
I'm actually on vacation too, starting on Monday. So, but
Whoa.
I have problems, and I'll probably be even more active now that I don't have work to deal with.
So just before we finish, then,
Yep.
are we going to raise another proposal then for the cost of that third audit, because it seems it's going to be necessary?
Yeah, let's wait to get the details from Amir first, just so we understand the cost. Like I know he said it was 18 grand, but again, if we're going to put it into a proposal, let's make sure we have the exact number, and then just again validate and make sure that we're clear that that's what we want to do. Like it seems like we have to anyway, but I'd say let's wait to get the details from Amir, and then we can put it into a formal proposal and flip it to Snapshot.
Okay. And Amir, I'll check back on Discord in about an hour, and then we can further the chat.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll just do a general meeting on Discord, I think.
Cool.
Perfect.
That works.
And then Ty, maybe you want to just follow up with us on how that's going.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
to make sure
I'll
that
keep you
we're all
posted.
confident that there's not going to be any hiccups.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted. Don't worry. All right,
Appreciate
guys,
that,
because
sir.
I bridged some TEL and ETH over to base, so I've just got that sitting there, not working.
Ready to deploy.
Ready to deploy, but I can't deploy it. So yeah.
Locked and loaded.
Sorry.
Locked and loaded.
Well, yeah, but not ready to fire. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you.
Sounds good, gents. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Telcoin app. Stake and refer video.